During a 30-35 loss this weekend to the Dallas Cowboys, head coach Mike Tomlin elected to go for 2-point conversions over extra points 4 times, going 0 for 4 on these attempts. Was this the right call?
No, I don't think so. I think it's cool and everyone likes it when your team goes for 2 or when you see 2-point conversions. The reason we like them is because they're exciting. But guess what? Now that they've moved the extra point back, that's pretty exciting too. We've seen misses. We've seen a lot of different things. So as far as excitement for the fan, I think it kind of nulls out. But he kept going for 2, and the problem is he was chasing points.
Yeah, he was definitely chasing points all night long during that game. And you got to think, even if he converts just 1 or 2 of those, you could completely change the way that game was played in the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's just say he gets 2 of them or 3. Let's say he gets 3 points. That changes the way Dallas operates their offense. It puts a little more, because I believe it puts more pressure. Then they really have to get the touchdown. I mean, they got it anyways, which makes it kind of a moot point. But at the end of the day, it affects how your team looks, and you kept failing at it, and that's not a good sign.
But what I think is most important when you look at, again, people say you have the balls of steel to go for 2-point conversions. But what that does is when that other team stops you, instead of gaining momentum after a touchdown, you're losing momentum after a touchdown. How good did that Dallas defense feel after, they gave up a touchdown, but basically we held them to 2 field goals, 1 touchdown, and we're up.
Yeah, and I also think it's lack of knowing your opponent too. I mean, if you're Pittsburgh and you know that Dallas may go down the field and score a touchdown, unless they have to, I don't think they're going to go for 2 in many occasions. They got a really good kicker. They're going to take the 7. So if you sit there and you say, we only got 6, now we have 12. Well, guess what? You get 2 touchdowns and a field goal, now you're up by more than 3 points. And you can't expect to shut them down because you know that the Steelers' defense isn't operating as the defenses of old. So they kind of got lost. I think Tomlin got in his own head. And I think, I think Ben is an enabler. I think Ben Roethlisberger will say, we could do it. We could do it. And it's the job of the head coach to say, no, Ben, sit down. Thanks for the 6. Let's go get 7.
And it looks like we're both in agreement that you at least kick the extra point, at least in the first and second quarters.
Yeah.
But looking at that now, looking at decisions like that, does this put Mike Tomlin on the hot seat in Pittsburgh?
I think it's kind of the birdcage effect where it's not just one thing, it's multiple things that you start to look and take a step back and you realize that, between that and Ben Roethlisberger criticizing him in a sense and the team kind of saying, we practice this way and you turn out that same way is causing penalties and they don't get up for games and it starts to become an issue.
Yeah, I heard Ben Roethlisberger. I've seen stories written in the press where they're saying things, or he's saying things, kind of referring that practices are too tough, too rough. He can't recover from injuries. Guys are playing hurt, and it's taking a toll on them through the season, as well as they're being coached to hit hard, and it's resulting in penalties.
And that's true. You're starting to look at a team that I think is getting a little bit weary of their head coach. I think he's been there for more than 10 years or around 10 years at this point. And at this point, you kind of start to tune him out. And if he's coaching them or if his practices are causing them to not perform at their best, or if, they're committing things that he's like, that's a good play, but then in reality, it's a penalty, and he's not correcting it, I mean, that's cause for concern. These are the Pittsburgh Steelers. They expect to be playing deep in the playoff runs,
do you feel like Mike Tomlin might be suffering from a little bit of that Tom Coughlin effect where his voice, it was a great message and it got you to a Super Bowl or 2, but as the years wane on, that it kind of gets old?
I think so, and I also think that you have to look at the situation that he came into.
Yeah.
When Bill Cowher stepped down, after his Super Bowl win, you had Brett Keisel, Casey Hampton, you had James Harrison, you had Ryan Clark, Troy Polamalu, Ike Taylor. You had these guys that were older, professional veterans that all Mike Tomlin had to do was kind of put him in the right place and they would take over the rest.
Right.
Now that he's had to overturn the roster in these few years and you've had to overturn your coaching staff, you lost Bruce Arians, you lost Dick LeBeau,
Yeah.
Can you
Big
produce at the high
losses as
Yeah,
coordinators.
those are huge. And can you get these young guys up to speed?
Yeah, but look, for all his problems and all the woes of the Pittsburgh Steelers and from where they started when he started to where they're at now, if you ask me, Mike Tomlin is still one of my favorite coaches in the NFL. I love how he got the job in Pittsburgh, that famous story of him going in there, sitting at the Rooney's desk and saying, hey, how I'm going to coach this team is the same way the Pittsburgh Steelers have been playing football since the 70s. And that's by running the ball and playing defense. And that's the kind of coach that I like. I like how he preaches accountability. And there's never an excuse for losing. There's never an excuse for not doing your job. So with that being said, a lot of other coaches are on the hot seat. Is there any potential for any movement looking forward into the offseason on where Mike Tomlin, if he was fired, where he might be able to pick up a job?
Well, I know this isn't going to happen, but being a Niners fan, if he was free, I'd tell Chip Kelly, why don't you go back to Oregon? Go ahead. You can go back there. I'd take Mike Tomlin in a heartbeat. I think he is a great coach. What I've documented is stuff that teams that are competing for Super Bowls. If you're a team that's trying to get your program straight, Mike Tomlin can help. And you look at the coaches that are probably going to be gone. You have Gus Bradley in Jacksonville, Pagano in Indy, Mike McCoy in San Diego, Rex Ryan will be fired. And these are coaches that I don't think are going to get head coaching opportunities, and they're going to leave these jobs open for a Mike Tomlin that can maybe step into Buffalo or even step into a Jacksonville. I know it's not attractive, and it looks horrible going from the mighty Pittsburgh Steelers to the Jacksonville Jaguars, but there's talent on that team. If they had a coach that could get them going, and if he took Todd Haley with them, they could turn around that team like that.
Well, let me tell you this. Out of all those teams and all those coaches that you named, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I feel, have given Gus Bradley the biggest chance to succeed there, and he hasn't delivered yet. And ideally, they have the quarterback. They got a lot of good young defensive players. They drafted Jalen Ramsey. They got Myles Jack in last year's draft. And they have a quarterback that a lot of people were comparing to Big Ben. Exactly. So it could be a perfect fit. But do you see any other places that he might?
Well, the other one that I see that could be is Green Bay. Because now you're seeing it's the same thing. You lose. They lost to the Tennessee Titans. If I had told you at the beginning of the season, the Green Bay Packers were going to lose to the Tennessee Titans.
No,
exactly.
I didn't see it.
Nobody saw that coming. And you have, again, it's the similar thing. You have these coaches that have been there for a decade that are Super Bowl champions, and they're getting called out by their quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is telling them, we're not executing correctly. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. And I think it comes down to, especially with not so much with Tomlin, because I think the Rooneys are a patient group. They let Bill Cowher, he was there forever,
Yeah.
But Green Bay is different.
He's only the third head coach, right?
Yeah, I think it goes
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher,
him, and then Tomlin.
Yeah, that tells you something.
Yeah, I think that the only way he would leave is if Ben put a lot of pressure on them, or if they view that Ben's last years are more vital to their success than Mike Tomlin's. And I think that fact is emphasized in Green Bay, where I don't think it's even close. I think if push came to shove, Green Bay management would get rid of McCarthy and keep Aaron Rodgers happy. And he's another one who I think, like Mike Tomlin, would get a head coaching opportunity because he can run an offense. I mean, he's a Super Bowl champion. He's done good. He's won even when Aaron Rodgers has been down. He's taken guys that are, Matt Flynn, and helped him get a good game.
He did. Got Matt Flynn paid.
Yeah. So I think those are two coaches that, man, if they are fired, there's a lot of coaches that are going to lose sleep because they might get fired because those two guys are available.